Hi everyone, here's our next installment of Wonder by R.J. Palacio. Via's Secret. A couple of days after spring break ended, Mum found out that Via hadn't told her about a school play that was happening at her high school the next week. And Mum was mad. Mum doesn't really get mad that much, though Dad would disagree with that. But she was really mad at Via for that. She and Via got into this huge fight. I could hear them yelling at each other in Via's room. My bionic lobot ears could hear Mum saying, "But what is it with you lately, Via? You're moody and taciturn and secretive." "What is so wrong with my not telling you about stupid play?" Via practically screamed. "I don't even have a speaking part in it." "Your boyfriend does. Don't you want to see him in it? Don't you want us to see him in it?" "No, actually, I don't." "Stop screaming." "You scream first. Just leave me alone, okay? You've been really good about leaving me alone my whole life, so why do you choose high school to suddenly be interested? I have no idea." Then I don't know what Mum answered because it all got very quiet, and even my bionic lobot ears couldn't pick up a signal. My cave. By dinner, they seemed to have made up. Dad was working late, Daisy was sleeping. She'd thrown up a lot earlier in the day, and Mum made an appointment to ask her to take her to the vet the next morning. The three of us were sitting down, and not one of us talking. Finally I said, "So, are we going to see Justin in a play?" Via didn't answer, but looked down at her plate. "You know, Oggy," Mum said quietly, "I haven't realised what play it is. And it really isn't something that would be interesting to kids your age." "So I'm not invited?" I said, looking at Via. "I didn't say that," said Mum. "It's just I don't think it's something you'd enjoy." "You'd get totally bored," said Via, like she was accusing me of something. "Are you and Dad going?" I asked. "Dad'll go," said Mum. "I'll stay home with you." "What?" Via yelled at Mum. "Oh, great. So you're going to punish me for being honest by not going." "You don't want us to go in the first place, remember? You didn't want us to go in the first place, remember?" answered Mum. "But now that you know about it, of course, I want to go." "But now you know about it, of course I want you to go," said Via. "Well, I've got to weigh everyone's feelings here, Via," said Mum. "What are you two talking about?" I shouted. "Nothing," they both snapped at the same time. "Just something about Via's school that has nothing to do with you," said Mum. "You're lying," I said. "Excuse me?" said Mum, kind of shocked. Even Via looked surprised. "I said you're lying," I shouted. "You're lying," I screamed at Via, getting up. "You're both liars. You're both lying to my face like I'm an idiot." "Sit down, Oggy," said Mum, grabbing my arm. I pulled my arm away and pointed at Via. "You think I don't know what's going on," I yelled. "You just don't want your brand new fancy high school friends to know your brother's a freak." "Oggy!" Mum yelled. "That's not true." "Stop lying to me, Mum," I shrieked. "Stop treating me like a baby. I'm not retarded. I know what's going on." I ran down the hallway to my room and slammed the door behind me, so hard that I actually heard little pieces of the wall crumble inside the door frame. Then I plopped onto the bed and pulled the covers up on top of me. I threw my pillows over my disgusting face and then piled all my stuffed animals on top of the pillows like I was inside a little cave. If I could walk around with a pillow over my face all the time, I would. I don't even know how I got so mad. I wasn't really mad at the beginning of dinner. I wasn't even sad. But then all of a sudden it all kind of just exploded out of me. I knew Via didn't want me to go to her stupid play, and I knew why. I figured Mum would follow me into my room right away, but she didn't. I wanted her to find me inside my cave of stuffed animals, so I waited a little more. But even after 10 minutes, she still didn't come in after me. I was pretty surprised. She always checks on me when I'm in my room, upset about stuff. I pictured Mum and Via talking about me in the kitchen. I figured Via was feeling really, really, really bad. I pictured Mum totally laying on the guilt, and Dad would be mad at her when he came home too. I made a little hole through the pile of pillows and stuffed animals and peeked at the clock on the wall. Half an hour had passed and Mum still hadn't come into my room. I tried to listen for the sounds in the other rooms. Were they still having dinner? What was going on? Finally, the door opened. It was Via. She didn't even bother coming over to my bed, and she didn't come in softly like I thought she would. She came in quickly. Goodbye. Oggy, said Via, come quick. Mum needs to talk to you. I'm not apologizing. This isn't about you, she yelled. Not everything in this world is about you, Oggy. Now hurry up. Daisy's sick. Mum's taken her to the emergency vet. Come say goodbye. I pushed the pillows off my face and looked up at her. That's when I saw she was crying. What do you mean, goodbye? Come on, she said, holding out her hand. I took her hand and followed her down the hall to the kitchen. Daisy was lying down sideways on the floor with her legs straight out in front of her. She was panting a lot, like she'd been running in the park. Mum was kneeling beside her, stroking the top of her head. What happened? I asked. She just started whimpering all of a sudden, said Via, kneeling down next to Mum. I looked down at Mum, who was crying too. I'm taking her to the animal hospital downtown, she said. The taxi's coming to pick me up. The vet'll make her better, right? I said. Mum looked at me. I hope so, honey, she said quietly, but I honestly don't know. Of course he will, I said. Daisy's been sick a lot lately, Oggy, and she's old. But they can fix her, I said, looking at Via to agree with me, but Via wouldn't look up at me. Mum's lips were trembling. I think it might be time we say goodbye to Daisy, Oggy. I'm sorry. No, I said. We don't want her to suffer, Oggy, she said. The phone rang. Via picked it up and said, Okay, thanks, and then hung up. The taxi's outside, she said, wiping her tears with the backs of her hands. Okay, Oggy, open the door for me, sweetie, said Mum, picking Daisy up very gently like she was a huge droopy baby. Please, no, Mommy, I cried, putting myself in front of the door. Honey, please, said Mum. She's very heavy. What about Daddy? I cried. He's meeting me at the hospital, Mum said. He doesn't want Daisy to suffer, Oggy. Via moved me away from the door and held it open for Mum. My cell phone's on if you need anything, Mum said to Via. Can you cover her with the blanket? Via nodded, and she was crying hysterically now. Say goodbye to Daisy, kids, Mum said, tears streaming down her face. I love you, Daisy, Via said, kissing Daisy on the nose. I love you so much. Bye, little girlie, I whispered into Daisy's ear. I love you. Mum carried Daisy down the stoop. The taxi driver had opened the door and we watched her get in. Just before she closed the door, Mum looked up at us standing by the entrance to the building and she gave us a little wave. I don't think I've ever seen her look sadder